Hello and welcome! Silrace here with Mechwarrior Online. This is a basic guide to mech building, kind of a tips and tricks video of how I personally go about setting up mechs. Realize that we all have our own preferences and ways we go about this, so if you already know what works for you, then do what works for you. This is essentially how I go about things, and I'll try to make this and keep this a new player friendly as well. So I have a few new Jaeger mechs here, including a Firebrand, which is the Jaeger mech hero mech. I have done a few things on all of these, and I figure I'll build the Firebrand here right now, and well, you'll get to see that happening, and I'll explain why and how. Now, first things first is there is a quirk list, right, which you can see here while I'm mouse overing the Firebrand, and while you do want to take advantage of quirks, sometimes there are quirks you might want to ignore depending on the kind of build you really want to do. So PPC velocities and all that stuff, I think this will be something I might put some PPCs on. So let's get on with it. Now, I have already changed the camo spec there, as you could tell if you know how Firebrand looks, and with that I already changed some values around here. I have firstly gotten armor near max. As you can see, I am missing 6 points from maximum armor value. This is something you might want to do every time you buy a new mech. Strip it of all equipment and max out the armor to the nearest half ton. Well, whether you want to do, 1 point of rear armor or 20 points of rear armor, that is personal preference and depends on your play style of sorts. Here I have gone with 8 and a 9 for center torso. Mostly, front armor, very high, expecting to get shot in the front a whole lot, and so forth. Many people completely forgot to change the armor value from the defaults, and please don't make that mistake, especially if you are a newer player. It is better to have more armor than less, so you might be able to get away with a few positioning mistakes and whatnot, which you might not if you are lacking a whole lot of armor. Another thing to note is I have double heatsinks already installed. At the time of making this video, there is only rare few builds where you don't maybe want double heatsinks. For the most part, on basically every mech out there, just install the double heatsinks and you are basically better off. Endo steel I added in for the simple reason that I'm going to be building this with a standard engine. This is the first time I will be playing the Firebrand, and until I figure a very good reason to mount an XL engine on it, I am not mounting an XL engine on it. That is my personal preference, and it also increases my durability within the game itself, because XL engine obviously on the inner sphere side of things, if a side torso gets blown up, you die. Standard engine does not have that issue. Of course I will be able to mount, a little less weaponry or smaller guns, because standard engine weighs more. But the endo steel helps cut back a little bit on that weight. Now there are two ways to go about the next step. Well, one of them is to put in first the weapons you want to use and then the engine. Or do it the other way around. First figure out what kind of engine you want to run and then fit the weapons. Personally, I do either of these, depending on the kind of a chassis, the kind of a mech I'm running. And if I am planning to play it in a group sometime soon, where we might all want to have the exact same speed, to keep up as a unit. Here, however, this is going to be completely pubby match games and whatnot, so on a 65-ton mech, this is fairly reasonable, fairly normal for me and 65-ton mechs. Standard 275. that suddenly leaves me a whole lot of tonnage free, and that might be an issue. Might need to go a bigger engine. Because energy weapons are fairly low on weight. So if I go PPCs, as I mentioned previously, I wanted to put PPCs on here. I have 13 tons free, and here you can see the free slots. 47 out of 78 have been filled, so essentially I have 31 free slots here to fill with stuff. Now let's do one other thing and put a double heatsink right into the engine, because there is an engine heatsink space in the 275 and up engines. There are more if you go 300 and above. Every 25 rating you get an engine heatsink slot. Alright, so now I have that double heatsink already there, and I have 12 tons to do with. So basically I have 2 PPCs, and then I would like to have some backup weapons for the PPCs, since I do have the energy hard points for them in the side torsos. Or I could fit ballistics here as well. I could, for example, drop the PPCs and go couple ballistic guns like 2 UAC-5s or something along those lines. But I think for the Firebrand I first want to try it out as a PPC mech. Now I could do it in such a fashion that I would put the PPCs here in the side torsos and then lower armor from the arms to get more free tonnage, to maybe get like, I don't know, 4 PPCs on a 65 ton mech. That could be very much possibility, but I think I kind of like the way the Firebrand looks with its the outward reaching ballistic arms. So let's put the let's try this with a PPC in each arm, with the maxed armor in the arms. Alright, so backup weapons. Let's see if where we can get if we just put in 4 medium lasers, and that would be the backup weapons. Regular PPCs have a 90 meter minimum range, and they deal less damage outside of that. So basically get couple lasers, which will help when things are getting closer by and you don't want to fire the PPCs. Of course, could go ER PPCs, which do not have that issue, but they have much higher heat. And heat might be an issue with a brand new mech, because I do not yet have the pilot skills to really manage that heat. One reason why these medium lasers may be better off being, let's say, small pulse lasers, because then that is a really close range firepower, like where I do not want to use the PPCs anyway because of that 90 meter minimum range. The small pulse lasers have instead an 110 meter optimal range, so they have a little bit of optimal range over the minimum range of the PPCs, and they are much more heat efficient than medium lasers. So there is a debate. Let's put in medium lasers first and let's see what it looks like. Now I have 8 tons free, and I should have enough slots, if you do a little bit of math here, for double heat sinks on this thing here. So first the side torsos with the double heat sinks, and then arms. And actually that works out perfectly. I have 3 slots left over. I have a whole lot of heat sinks, and I have 1.27 heat management, which is fairly okay-ish, even with the 4 medium lasers. If I drop these into small pulse lasers, how is my heat management going to look then? 1.4, that might be a tad too high, especially once I start getting the pilot skills. Don't necessarily need it to be that high, so I guess it will be medium lasers. And there you have it. This is how I usually go about building mechs. Here I decided on engine first, because it's like, okay, standard 275 is an engine I have used previously on 65 to 60 tonner mechs. Because I know It gives fairly okay speed, as you can see, right here. 68 speed, and this is obviously without speed tweak, so about 70 kph, which for a support fire mech like this, which carries around a couple PPCs, is just fine. It's just fine. You don't really need to be that much faster than it. Of course, I could do something else. I could put the PPCs into, for example, the side torsos and swap to an XL engine and give like a Ultra AC5 in addition to 2 PPCs. That could definitely work. Or try to even get a gauge rifle in with the PPCs. But that wasn't my original idea. I was like, okay, PPCs and some backup weapons. Alright, that seems reasonable. Let's try that out. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to change the build. So essentially now I have a fire support mech which is fairly survivable because of the standard engine. Do not die to losing a side torso. Even losing one side torso leaves half of the weapons alive. So basically have firepower to go until, you know, mech is dead. And so on. And have fairly good heat management to go with it. And reasonable is speed, I would say. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful to somebody out there who is struggling to build mechs. My suggestions wrapped up here at the end. Max out the armor to the nearest half ton. As you can see here, I'm 6 points under. I could drop 1 ton of armor here, for example, on this build right now. And add 1 extra heatsink, because I have the 3 slots for it. But I have absolutely no reason to do that. I don't know yet whether I need that extra heatsink so badly, or whether I need that more armor. I haven't played this mech yet. So, max out the armor, especially for newer players. Then figure out either the engine first or weapons first, and then the other bit. My recommendation for newer players as well, use standard engine until you get used to the mech. Until you figure out, does it need an XL engine? If it needs an XL engine, then obviously go with the XL engine if you can't, you know, find a good setup with using a standard engine. But the standard engine allows you to live longer, just straight up, meaning that you can get away with a few positioning mistakes you might not with an XL engine, which is good for newer players. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you folks another time with more Mechwarrior Online.